Welcome to Jungle Podcast, the definitive podcast for junglists who want to take a deeper look at the sonic evolution of the genre. Brought to you by community insiders. I'm your host, Tormund. Today, we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Rooxg. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Just chilling. Sunday afternoon. Just chilling. How about you?
I'm doing well. I've been enjoying the World Cup so far, and
Nice.
of course, your team France has been looking great. I have a strong
Yes.
feeling they'll go all the way with this one.
Yes, probably yes. I'm not a huge football fan, but yeah, this World Cup has been pretty interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, it's I mean, here in the States, it's been a pretty big deal. I'm a big football soccer fan myself,
Okay.
so I'm always paying attention to the World Cup. But what kind of sports are you into?
Well, recently I've been a lot into tennis.
Oh, okay.
I did play a bit when I was a kid, so like around like when I was maybe 10, 11 years old. I played for a couple years in a club and then stopped because I got into skateboarding and music and other stuff, you know. But yeah, tennis and skateboarding, and been doing a lot of just exercising, you know, calisthenics and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So that's uh that's pretty much it. But I really like competitive sports in general and esports as well. I'm a
Oh,
huge
nice.
that.
Are you into like CS:GO and like shooters,
Uh,
or what kind of esports are you into?
yeah, I used to be like huge on FPS games. A bit less nowadays, but I still enjoy watching some like CS:GO majors and stuff like that. But my competitive game for like the past maybe 5, 6 years it has been Rocket League,
Oh, okay, yeah. Rocket League's a
which
lot of
is
fun. I am no good at it.
a very mechanical and skill ceiling game, you know. So that's what I'm into.
And you mentioned skateboarding. How long have you been skateboarding for?
Well, it's I started quite young, like around maybe 11, 12 years old as well, and skated
Hmm.
for maybe 3, 4 years and stopped because I got into music and started partying and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
skateboarding got a bit away, and I started skating back in 2016. So it's been now 10 years, but yeah, haven't been skating much this past few months though. It's it gets a lot harder when you get older, you know. Now
Yeah,
I'm close to 33, you know, so each session, you know, just my feet hurts, my knee hurts, so I'd
I
rather
know
do
about that. Yeah.
other types of sports.
What's the skateboarding scene in France like?
It's pretty good, to be honest. Like since maybe around like 2015, 2016, when skateboarding started getting a bit more popular again, like the scene really blew up, and especially like in big cities like Paris, Lyon, and
Hmm.
Marseille, they have huge skate scenes, and even in my city, you know, we have a relatively nice uh, skate scene, and a lot of people, you know, and a lot of new people, young people, and like girls and boys, and everyone is skating. It's just really cool.
That's awesome. So, in terms of when you kind of stopped skateboarding and got into music, tell us a bit about that and your history as a producer and with Jungle. What's sort of the story there?
Okay, so as I've said before, you know, I started making music around 12 years old. You know, I started playing guitar, which back then is everything I've always wanted to do, electric guitar specifically. And yeah, I played metal for a lot of years. And during these years, you know, I experimented with a couple other things, you know, just trying to make beats and discovering electronic music, you know, around like 16, 17, you know, and trying to do stuff on FL Studio. But it's only around 2016 that I started like producing kind of seriously, you know, trying to release stuff,
Hmm.
etc. So I started making like trap funk beats, you know,
Yeah.
And yeah, it quickly evolved into like doing some like hybrids of house and trap beats and like experimenting with some stuff without really going anywhere, you know. And
Right.
I kind of got over that and then kind of searched myself a bit. I started playing jazz. I started learning piano, etc. for a few years. And it's only in 2022 that I started producing jungle. At that point, it was like maybe I had been into like the whole intelligent DNB and like atmospheric jungle for
Hmm.
maybe a year or two. Like I think I probably like really discovered that style during COVID maybe. And
Yeah.
and yeah, at some point I was just like, I was bored with everything I was doing before, and I was looking for something new, something new to do with music. So I was like, okay, let's go, let's just try to do a jungle track, atmospheric jungle track. And I did it, and I sent it to 4am breaks, which was my first choice channel at the point,
Hmm.
to dig new music and stuff, And yeah, luckily enough, he was nice enough, to publish my first release, which uh, which was pretty successful, for a debut single, from a unknown French guy, And yeah, basically from that point, it was very motivating, to see everyone enjoying the music, all the support I had straight up. So yeah, I just I leaned into it and just kept on going.
That's amazing. Do you remember what the first track was that you sent to 4 a.m.? Which one that was?
Yeah, that was actually the first track I tried to produce in that genre. It was the Space Nugget track.
Oh, okay. Yes, I remember Space Nugget. Yeah, I remember going back and taking a listen to that one. Yeah, so, 4 a.m. Breaks is obviously a great channel for this atmospheric jungle revival that you and I are both a part of and closely works with us and Sawteeth and the Jungle Fatigue crew. So, this is a global network that we're all a part of. For those who don't know, Rooxg and I have been collaborating behind the scenes for years now, listening to each other's work and giving each other feedback and props on what we can do to improve. While we've never released a track together as Rooks G and Torment, we've been involved in the scene. But I'm wondering, in France, is there a jungle scene that you're a part of, a local culture that has inspired your work or influenced your music in the jungle scene?
Well, until recently, not at all, because like jungle music in France, it's still nowadays it's only getting a bit more known now, but it's still very underground,
Hmm.
So yeah, until recently, I didn't really have any source of inspiration in my local scene or even in the French scene. However, like last year, I met some people, and we started a collective together, and we started throwing events and stuff. So since I've met these people, they've influenced me and inspired me a lot, because like they have different influences than me. They come from a different music background. They opened my eyes to a lot of stuff that I wasn't aware of, in terms of like maybe ambient music and trip hop
Hmm.
and stuff like that, and a lot of other obscure genres. So yeah, that's pretty much it on my local scene. Never has been really huge on jungle and even underground music generally.
What's the name of that collective you've been a part of?
It's called Junglist Nancy. Nancy being the name of our city, which is just like kind of a wordplay on Junglist Massive, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much pretty straight and simple, So if anyone wants to check it out on Instagram, if you're in France or Germany, we're pretty close to Germany, because we're in the northeast of France. So if you're looking to have some fun at some small underground jungle events, check out Junglist Nancy in Instagram. Nancy is Nancy, just like the name Nancy.
Perfect. Yeah, those small underground jungle events, those are the best. That's where jungle
Exactly.
thrives, you know? That's sort of the heart of it, to me at least. So, in your mind, what defines something as jungle to you? What makes it jungle and not drum and bass or some sort of other related genre in the same tempo range? Because I think tempo, you know, that jungle's at is probably one of the most defining features in all of its subgenres. But what makes the soul of jungle in your mind?
Yeah, I mean it's a tough question because it can be a really thin line, as you say, between like
Hmm.
drum bass and jungle and other like subgenres of that school. But to me, I think like the most important parts is the chop breaks. Of course, the BPM plays a role, but at the same time, I feel like especially jungle is one of the most free in terms of BPM range. You can go from like maybe 145, 150 up to 170, 175, even more. It can still be jungle. So
Yeah.
I don't. For me, it's really like the way the breaks are chopped, and maybe the sound choices.
Yeah, absolutely. In my mind, I think one of the big components that makes jungle jungle is that reggae influence. That's kind of it's subtle nowadays. It was much more present in the early days, and there's still a whole subgenre that's got that reggae and dance hall
Of course.
strong vibe to it. But the bass lines have always just really stood out to me as reggae bass lines. And I think that's probably one of the defining features for me at any tempo that makes me go, oh, that's jungle. That's not drum and bass.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I feel like especially maybe in the earlier days, that was especially the case. I feel like
Yeah.
nowadays the genre has evolved so much that it's maybe a bit harder to just pin it down to like what type of bass lines, etc. But I
Yeah.
definitely see what you mean, and I do think like the general dub-wise aspect of it, is very, very important.
And in your jungle specifically, there's, a huge influence from your experiments in jazz and your background in metal. And I think
Yes.
one of the things that always stands out to me in a Rooxg track is these blazing solos, like synth solos or bass solos that you have. And I was wondering if you could tell me a little more about how you come up with those, if it's, you just do a couple takes and you cut them together, or if it's all one take, or what's the process behind those crazy Rooks G solos?
Yeah, man. Well, first, thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot. I don't know, man. It's just a thing that came up to me when I was doing a track. Like one day, I was like, what if I just do a like crazy ass solo on top of a jungle track? And yeah, that stemmed first in the first place. That stemmed from my jazz experience. That was really fresh at that point. It was my intention, to kind of put those newly learned jazz elements into that jungle sound. And it just evolved. I started doing it a lot more, and the process depends on the track. Really, sometimes I just want a simple but like kind of emotional, like solo, something with all the some bends and vibratos and stuff like that where maybe the technicality itself is not as important. And for these solos, most of the time I will do one take and try to record it in one shot and have something that I'm happy with. And most of the time, though, I think I start with something that I'm going to play. I'm going to jam a bit over that section, and when I have something I'm happy with, I'm going to edit it, so it's really
Hmm.
clean, and I can do those fast runs, etc. Because I don't have the technique, to play the really fast parts of the solos I write. So these are always, if you hear like huge super fast lines, that sound really clean, that's 100% MIDI. I don't play those.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'll go in and anytime I try to include, a solo, which is something I've tried to include at times when I've been inspired by some of the incredible tracks you've put out.
Thanks, man.
It's a great sound. I think, everyone could take something from it. And but I'm wondering, do you record those with like a keyboard, MIDI keyboard?
Yeah, yeah. Everything I do is MIDI, you know.
Yeah,
I do use samples. I mean, of course, for the breaks and
right.
stuff. But I do more and more use samples. You know, especially I like old school stabs and old school pads and stuff like that. You know, and you get a really different feel when you're using like a sample pad and put it through like something like Amigo and through a sampler with
Yes.
brushing and etc. You really have a different result than using a straight up pad from a synth, you know. So I really
Yeah.
like those textures as well.
Yeah, the texture of the older samples, due to their age and the gear they were made on, always
Right.
adds some more depth than if you just come up with a new sound in Silent One or something like that.
Right.
Do you have a favorite piece of hardware gear or even a software plugin? What's something that's one of your go-tos that inspires you when you pull it up and says, "Yeah, I'm gonna make a cool sound with this."
Um, like I'm not a gearhead, so it's mostly software for me.
Mhm.
I think like the Korg plugins are really good, like all the Triton and M1
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. You know, it's they're classic synth and they're super versatile in my opinion. You know,
Mhm.
you can do very synthetic sounding stuff, and you can also have like some pretty clean like emulation of strings and pianos and
Oh,
like I
yeah.
really like that line where it's close to real instruments, you know, but you can still clearly hear it's MIDI, you know. It's got that
Yes.
in
I like
line
that.
I definitely enjoy, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great, that rompler sound of that first wave of
Yes,
hardware romplers that came out in the '90s.
definitely.
The software emulations, that core gear are all really fantastic. I think that's a great place to
Yes.
start if you're getting into any of these revival genres that are so popular right now, whether it's jungle or house or breaks or rave music. Any of those genres all use these synths as focal points
Yeah.
for their sound design. So those are really awesome piece of gear.
Definitely. Also, like I wanna shout out the Fab Filter suite
Oh
for like
yeah,
mixing because like just Pro Q and Saturn 2 and Pro R, they are just my absolute go-to for mixing. You know, it's just so simple and efficient and well designed. You know, it's just to me it's absolutely fantastic suite of plugins.
absolutely. Yeah, if you're not using FabFilter, get on it because that
Yeah,
those plugins are probably the best
definitely,
out there for the technical side of production. Would you
definitely.
say you have any advice for a new producer that might be listening to this who wants to get started with jungle and says, "Hey, that Rooxg, he's got some awesome tracks and I want to make something like him."
Man,
What's some advice?
honestly, you just do it, bro. Just be yourself, be
Hell yeah.
creative, like experiment with some stuff, like just try stuff out and get inspired, try maybe like replicating some stuff, but don't copy too much. Just yeah, try to understand what makes something you like great, what you like about something, and try to find those little details, you know, like especially I think paying attention to all the small details when you're listening to music you like is
Mhm.
a great way to understand how to make similar music, you know. And just yeah, don't try to sound like anybody else, just do your stuff and keep doing it, and as time goes, you know, you'll find your sound and you'll do some great stuff. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And I would say all the same things myself. I think, to your point, trying to copy someone else is great for learning
Yeah,
some new techniques or influence from a style. But if you try to just release music of your own that sounds like someone else, everyone listening is going to just think, oh, this sounds like that and probably not as good, or just like a knockoff.
Yeah,
Whereas if you try to create something your own, it may not sound right to you at first, but with time, you'll find your own sound. You'll find something that makes you your own sound, and other people will want to emulate that. So it is really just the patience to stick with it and keep pushing through. But with that, let's take a closer listen to a track that has been an influence to you, a classic track for the rewind portion. You chose Voyager Part 2.
exactly. Yes, what a great track.
Even just starting this one up and those opening breaks are sound so fresh for
Right?
being from 1995. The sampling that they did there and the chops are really something that just leaves a huge impression on me. But tell me a little bit about this track and what you get from it.
I don't know, man. It's just one of these tracks, like first I think like I when I discovered this track, I wasn't too familiar with that old school jungle sound yet, Like I started listening to I at that point I listened already to like Intelligent DNB, and the
Hmm. The
classic
LTJ
atmospheric stuff
boom
like yes,
sound.
exactly. Stuff like that. But I wasn't really familiar with the more real jungly aspect, of that sound yet. And I think it's one of the first tracks that I heard that was really like at that grit, that old school grit.
Yeah, it has that old school hardcore like rave kind of feel to it as well, but with those
Right.
lush ambient chords and
Exactly.
that jungle bass line that has a little bit of reggae to it. And
Definitely.
especially in the middle part, the breakdown when you get just the breaks and the bass line and like that vocal sample, you get that classic, rave power vocals over the top.
Yeah,
That's a really, really magical moment in the track. I'd love to know, what gear and samples went into this. I'm not doing a full breakdown on these tracks. Maybe that could be a different podcast. Diving deep into these classic tracks.
yeah.
But in terms of what they mean to us as producers, I think that's its own component.
Definitely. Yeah, for me, like this track is just such a perfect, blend of melodic, and at the same time not too uh, not too high energy. It's a very peaceful tune, and that melody, is very. It's so simple but so efficient. Like the notes
Yes,
are just exactly where they need to be, and it's just yeah, it caught my attention. And
that's a good point.
that's something that can be very hard to find, especially like for me. I'm pretty hard to please with music, so it's hard to me to find stuff that really catches my attention. And I'm like for days having those small synth notes, just ringing in my head for days. That's pretty rare for me.
That's great. So, in terms of, when you say it's hard to catch your attention with music, what's something that you're looking for in what you're listening to, or if you're doing a mix as a DJ, what's something that you recognize pretty consistently where you say this stands out to me, this is something I like.
I mean, there's lots of different things that can catch my attention, and depending on the genre I'm listening to, it's gonna be different things. But for jungle, like first thing is again the breaks. If the breaks sounds nice, if it's chopped well, if it has a good flow, especially like I think for me, I'm not a huge fan of those very aerial jungle tracks, where the beat is kind of I don't really know how to put that in words. There's a track by DJ Trace, I think, which is called Coffee, and it's an awesome track. But it's a good example. It would be a good example of those types of beats I'm talking about. Anyways, I'm generally looking for high energy stuff.
Well, that's interesting that you say you're looking for high energy, but you also said Voyager was, very like chill, very
Yeah, but
relaxing.
it's like uh the energy is high in the sense, like it's very powerful, it has
Yeah,
like the pads and the melody again, and even the breaks, they have a lot of soul. They have like
yeah.
it's
They're
intense.
very
This
forward.
very chill, it's very full. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they push forward. Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to add, or any projects coming up you want to promote? Because now's the time.
Honestly, man, just a lot of new music to be released in the future, so just keep an eye out on every platform, if you want to hear some snippets, just follow me on Instagram at rooxg. uh, Follow my collective at Junglist Nancy, which again, if you're around France, northeast of France, or like West Germany and Netherlands and Belgium, check it out. Come have some fun with us at the events, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for having me. Thanks to everyone that's
Absolutely.
been like following me and listening and enjoying my music, and supporting me. Like the few people on Bandcamp who just consistently buy my music. It means the world to me to know that there's some people who truly resonate with my music. So yeah, just wanna thank everyone for that. And of course, again, thank you for having me, dude. I really hope this podcast is going to grow.
Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure, and I will be looking out for that new music. Always a fan, and I hope this podcast helps inspire you too. You go and say, "Hey, man, I talked about it on a podcast. Now I got to go release some new tunes."
Hell yeah, dude.